Coming up on The World Today, U.S. President Donald Trump tells Iran that it's too late to negotiate peace as Iran's air defense, air force, navy, and leadership is gone. 6 U.S. soldiers killed in Iranian strike on Kuwait base. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns that the war in the Middle East could leave his country struggling to source air defense missiles. Welcome everyone to the program. I'm Joke Rogers in Lagos for you. We begin with the United States President Donald Trump warning of a possible attack in Saudi Arabia's Tehran city, a major center for the oil industry. He also read the riot act as he tells Iran that it's too late to negotiate peace, adding that the country's air defense, air force, navy, and leadership are gone. This comes as Israel carries out new attacks on Iran's leadership compound today, including the presidential office in Tehran. The number of people killed in Iran since U.S.-Israeli attacks began on Saturday has risen to 787. Iran has retaliated with a wave of attacks across the region. Well, this was not a war without consequences, as the United States has confirmed the killing of 6 U.S. soldiers during an Iranian strike on Kuwait. Officials say they succumbed to injuries sustained in the attack. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed a U.S. bunker in Kuwait was hit after a missile was launched during Iran's original retaliation evaded air defenses. The 6 deaths are the only fatalities confirmed by the United States military since it launched the new war against Iran with Israel on Saturday. Iran responded to the attacks against it by launching missiles at Gulf countries allied with the United States. Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia, while Oman and Qatar have also seen strikes in their territories. Well, U.S. citizens have been advised to immediately leave most of the Middle East due to the serious safety risks, and the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran escalates yesterday. The U.S. State Department asked Americans to leave via commercial means from Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, the occupied West Bank and Gaza, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. Washington has so far not organized any evacuations in the region, where many flights have been cancelled or suspended since the U.S. and Israel began striking Iran. American citizens were urged to check the latest security updates with nearby embassies and consulates and given hotlines for if they need help leaving the region. The UK government has previously used registration schemes to provide urgent updates to people affected by international crisis, but it's overwhelmed by the number of people and countries affected by the war. In the meantime, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky fears that the war in the Middle East could leave Ukraine struggling to source for air defense missiles. He also said there was a possible risk that Ukraine's allies could be distracted by the conflict and forget his country's defense against Russia's full-scale invasion. For years, Ukraine had grown accustomed to being in the eyes of the world. Last week, the streets of Kyiv thronged with Western leaders marking the grim 4th anniversary of the moment Russia launched its all-out war. And just a few days later, people in Ukraine's capital felt an almost tangible shift of focus away to another conflict. Well, let's discuss this further with our guest, former Deputy Chief Mission of Nigeria to the United States of America and Permanent Observer of Nigeria to the Organization of American States, Ambassador Hassan Mohammed. Welcome to The World Today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Right. And, let me first ask you, what are your thoughts? I would have said initial thoughts, but now this attack has been on since Saturday. So what are your thoughts about, this war between the United States and Israel against Iran?
is a very difficult war. Is a war that has been imposed on Iran, and Iran is not taking it lying down. So it's more or less like a conflagration is now involving. It initially started between the United States, Israel, and Iran, but now the entire region, including some parts of Europe, are involved. So it's a very terrible war. It shouldn't have started in the first place. The negotiations were on, and it was agreed that this week they will continue, only for them to wake up and Iran was being bombarded by the US and Israel. So is my first initial thought is that it is a wrong approach, and it has happened, and we have to find a way out.
Right, and what kind of judgment call do you think, or let me put it this way, what do you think the US president and the allies could have done differently, knowing that Iran was not going to cower to threats from the United States, vowing to retaliate any attacks against it or its people, and knowing that US bases in different parts of the Middle East were also at risk of being attacked, but not just the bases, people in those places also risk being hurt or killed. Do you think it was the right judgment call from the United States president?
It was a wrong decision because they didn't, I don't think they really understood the situation overall, because it's not only killing the people, it involves political, geopolitics, economics, and everything. So the entire region, because that region is a blessed part of the world. It is hosting over 20% oil requirement and over 30% gas requirement of the world. So to disturb that environment is catastrophic, not only to the countries within the region, but it will affect far away places, including Europe and the United States. So in any situation, it's always good to take the safer route than to embark on war.
Right, and the US president had said before that he preferred negotiations, peaceful negotiations over war, and asked Iran to stop uranium enrichment, otherwise it'll get attacked. And, I'm guessing just days after issuing that threat to Iran, this attack happened. What do you think Iran should have done differently in this space, or do you think Iran could have done anything differently? Let me ask that way.
Yeah, Iran found herself in a tight corner, and the negotiations, I understand, going by the statement by the foreign minister of Bahrain, they've gone very far into the negotiations, and they are very hopeful as at Friday. But by Saturday, something else was was on in the region, and Iran was not the first to attack. Iran didn't renege on its commitment, and all of a sudden they eliminated their leaders, and they said, okay, we'll have to revenge. So Iran is fighting an existential war, and they will stop at nothing, and they are carrying everything into the scenario. So we don't know how it will end. Maybe they will have to find a way out.
Right, and Iran is in a bit of a a stickling point here, knowing that previously the country and Israel had, back and forth issues, because of the war in Gaza in the first place. And, the tensions were already brewing before this attack by the United States. Do you think this is what Israel had been waiting for, like a green light to go ahead and attack Iran, following behind the United States?
Yeah, historically and over a long time, Israel has always wanted the U.S. to come in to attack Iran. Iran has pockets of resistance in the region, and Iran always instruct those pockets of resistance to attack Israel. And Israel is not comfortable with the stand of Iran. Iran has always called Israel very, very bad names, and they've always wanting to destroy, according to them, their country. According to Israelis, that Iran has always wanted to destroy their country. So they themselves, they feel Iran poses an existential threat to their country. So their reaction is not unfounded.
And several other countries in the Middle East have been hit because of the U.S. bases in those countries. And Iran had said that the attacks were not against Tehran as such, but against the U.S. Bases in several countries in the Middle East. And it seems that it's now a Middle East tension that had been brewing before, but it's a lot more than that now. How do you see this playing out in the next couple of days?
It's difficult to say because all parties are dug in, they are digging in and responding fiercely to whatever is coming to them. So I see Iran, I don't know how Iran will get out of it, because Iran, the Middle Eastern countries initially thought they wouldn't be attacked, but Iran didn't make it a secret. They've always told them that if there is a war, they will attack U.S. bases. And almost all the countries in the Middle East have U.S. bases. And they cited their missiles, and they attacked simultaneously. That is where the problem is. And they went to the extent of not only attacking Israel, but going to Cyprus, which is a British territory. And we don't know what will come out of it. But what has happened now is a geopolitical situation. As you said in the on the opening statement, Ukraine is not having it easy because the attention of their supporters have been diverted. And Russia is having sort of a field day now. And you see, China has problems with Taiwan. And I understand some news channels have it that they have now surrounded Taiwan. So this is something that one thing leads to another. And one cannot sit here and comfortably predict what might be the outcome, because everybody is dug in and they don't seem to be a way out.
Right, Ambassador.
As at the moment.
Yes, Ambassador Mohammed Hassan, thank you again for your time on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my honor.
And still to come. In the aftermath of this war, mass funeral for slain Iranian schoolgirls. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Grieving hearts and minds gather to bury 165 schoolgirls killed in Minab during the joint U.S.-Israeli bombing of a school there. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Abgachi said that the innocents were murdered in cold blood. 5 pupils were initially reported killed on Saturday before the toll began to rise steadily. The U.S. Central Command spokesperson, Tim Hawkins, confirmed that the U.S. is aware of the attack and has begun looking into them. Let's bring in international affairs analyst Yinka Oyenije, who joins us from London. Yinka, great to see you again today.
Oh, yeah, same here. Good evening.
Right. Since you're there in the United Kingdom, let me start from this question. And that's the concerns raised by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that in the aftermath of this war between U.S., Israel, and Iran may be worse for Ukraine because its defense might be affected. Is there any cause for concern?
All right, most definitely, there are economic implications of the ongoing war. It is a war. I don't choose to look at it as attacks anymore. If we have had exchange of missiles for over 4 days, then it's definitely a war. And it has far-reaching implications for the rest of the world, to be honest. If care is not taken, we'll be staring at a recession later in the year. But the immediate consequences will be that U.S. is depleting its own arms reserve, all right? And it's the same thing for other countries like the United Kingdom, who also under the guise of defending their own military bases across that region are also depleting their own military warfare. And so the attention is rightly diverted from the Ukraine crisis, which means that whatever stockpile of arms and ammunition and missiles and air defense systems that Ukraine could have been targeting as donations or contributions from other countries would now be expended into this war as a matter of extreme urgency. So whether we like it or not, those ammunitions that have been deployed is going to take years for them to be replenished, and they are no longer there available for the use of Ukraine against Russia. As they say, you can't eat your cake and have it. We are eating these ammunitions. We cannot have them except countries budget for them. They are produced, and all of this takes time. And those will have far-reaching implications for Ukraine that has not rested from the barrage of attacks from Russia.
Right, and there are a number of uncertainties in such a war or conflict, depends on where you're looking at it from. Do you think there could be, the outcome of, what do you think could be the outcome of these tensions in the Middle East?
It's a lot. It's far-reaching consequences, like I said. It's economic in nature, and it could even affect food, provision of food and services. The airspaces have been closed, so it means that there's no import going into those countries. Export also will be limited. They are losing money. Saudi Arabia has had to shut down the world's biggest refinery. The gas plant in Qatar has been hit. So all of those will definitely affect economy around the globe. There are going to be serious consequences economically. And then, of course, regarding humanitarian efforts, we just learned of the unfortunate incident of casualties from this war. 6 military men in the United States, the girls in Iran. Those are casualties on the ground that you can count. Those are people, they're human beings. Lives have been lost. And then, of course, it means then that we have to start to consider how we can mitigate the destruction going on. You have to rebuild airports. You have to rebuild the real important assets. And those will cost money. Those will cost time. So you can't really quantify at the moment. It's going to go into billions of dollars. How do you compensate for lives that have been lost? So nobody can exactly place a finger on how much this is going to cost the rest of the world.
Right, and the UK, where you are, is not actively, taking part in this war, but it's providing bases for American missiles. What do you think could be the repercussions of any involvement of the UK?
I don't agree that the UK is not actively involved. When Trump says that, Trump is trying to guard the prime minister. The UK is actively involved, but the question would then be, at what level is the United Kingdom involved, all right? So there's a level of supporting the attacks, which is providing warplanes, to providing missile and warheads to get the war going. There's a part of actually defending interests, and these interests are intertwined, okay? So, for example, I read a few hours ago that France is going to be providing support for the United Kingdom. So whether Kistama says we are directly involved or not, he's just saying that diplomatically, to say that we don't support the criminality or alleged criminality of the United States. UK is involved even more so by providing defense for those bases, military bases that Iran has been shelling. UK was called into the war even before the attack near its military base in Cyprus. So it's not correct to say the UK is not involved. However, the UK can hold our stance so that when we start coming to the table to negotiate, the UK will still be a player, not as an aggressor, but be seen as someone who is mediating. So you want to put at least one leg in there or one foot in there so that when there will be that reorganization of international security, of international politics, UK will still be very relevant at the table. So the UK is doing what it should be doing, and we are going into elections also. Kistama would rather limit his problems than escalate them.
Right, and in the hindsight, do you think, as some experts have posited, that Iran should not have retaliated with the force at which it did, striking, lashing out at countries within its own region because of the U.S. attacks in the first place? Do you think that Tehran should have held back a little bit more?
I don't think that any of this is miscalculated. I'll tell you the only miscalculation in here. So this has been brewing for decades. Just before I came on the show, I went back to check because the first thing that struck me was that only recently the leadership of Iran died in an helicopter crash. And I checked, that was in 2024. So they have been relentless, and it's happened severally. It's not even the first, the second, the third. It's been relentless. Now, the present government in Iran, the Muslim government or the Muslim order that they have in Iran is 37 years old. Everybody always wanted to remove the Ayatollah one way or the other. So it has been brewing for quite a period of time. Now, you must understand the economics behind it and the restructuring of the international security, if you like. Now, Trump will want to do this because Iran is rich when it comes to resources, and he has his eyes on that. There's absolutely no gain overstating that. Venezuela rich in mineral resources. It's China looks like everything is working for China is good because with respect to renewable energy, China is there. With respect to even fossil energy, China is there. Now, Iran would want to do this to be able to pull North Korea and Russia into the war. And this is the basis. This is what the Third World War will look like. All right, so it's posturing. You want to reorder. U.S. will want to get its hands on access to the mineral resources in Iran, one way or the other, either directly or indirectly through a stooge government there. So Iran wouldn't have had any other choice but to show that we are the victims and it be hitting hard so that it will also have some kind of say in what happens next. And it's one of two options to end it. It's either U.S. puts a government in place or a government that is susceptible and amenable to the interference that you see from the United States, or Iran will go down totally and won't be able to hold its own in the International Committee of Nations. So it was pre-planned, all right? U.S. just went quicker than was thought. There was an opening on Saturday morning to wipe them out, and they took it. So I don't think Iran would have done different.
Right. Yinka, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the UK government has announced its first chartered flight to bring people back from the region. The plane is expected to come into Oman in the coming days. The UK is also sending a significant level of defensive capability to Cyprus after attacks on a British base there, and also considering sending a warship. The UK government says it's considering whether to send a Royal Navy warship to the Mediterranean to increase security around the Akrotiri in Cyprus. As we all know, this comes as the U.S. and Israel struck Iran on Saturday, killing Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei, spiraling into a wave of attacks across the Middle East. As you know, that's a developing story, and stay tuned to Channels Television. We'll keep our eye out on it as we bring you all the details. That's the world today. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching.